Hey guys. So this is a bit of a surprise cuz I mean you can hear it. I just put out a podcast episode telling you about how this awesome overlooked franchise, and I decided, hey, what's the best way for you guys to know about it? I can't explain it, but this guy can. Um Catch though it's 4.5 hours long, which I I maybe regret. But I think we'll just chop this up into parts because this is a compilation. He has done separate reactions on the channel, but I thought, well, actually, I thought Ultimate because, well, one, he just released this like a couple weeks ago, and I really enjoy this guy's videos. So I've watched all of these ones separately, but I haven't watched this specific compilation. So we're not gonna be watching it all today. We're just gonna be watching the first part of it. So as you see, the Stargate, the movie, which isn't that long at all. Oh no, it's, yeah, there we go. 20 minutes. All right, sit down and yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
It's a common refrain to say that at some point every child has an Egypt phase. After all, why not? The fantastical imagery of pyramids, hieroglyphs, and mummies can seem like something out of a mystical fantasy story rather than a real period in history.
Absolutely true. Also, I also found the whole aspect of like um worshipping the sun just seems kind of goaded, just in general. I mean, I know he's like um part of like a what do you call it? What do you call it? The multiple uh polytheistic. There we go. Polytheistic faith. There were aspects where Ra was like the principal chief god. In fact, I think this is what the show actually riffs off of, because they always talk about how he's in charge. Anyway,
I had my Egypt phase pretty early on in my life, satiated by adventure stories like Indiana Jones and the Mummy movie.
yeah, me too. Also, side note, mummy movies are also goaded as well.
By that time,
Also, fun fact, I actually have original VHS copies of the Indiana Jones trilogy. I don't know how. Well, actually, I do know how. My mom used to be a librarian, and she basically got them off the shelves and gave them to me. Back when that was the thing.
I was also in my space phase, having grown up watching Star Trek and Star Wars.
Actually, I don't even know if they still work because I don't have a VHS player.
I was obsessed with both ancient temples and mythological monsters, as well as spaceships and aliens.
Also, side note about Star Trek, I never really got into the original series. I'm very much a Next Generation fan. Maybe it's just part and parcel of me being bold, but I do like Picard better.
Thus, when I discovered a certain mid-90s Roland Emmerich film, witnessing these two worlds collide felt like stepping through a gateway which I have never returned through since.
Also, soundtrack. Like, the first movie's soundtrack, and by extension, the rest of the series. Well, okay, maybe not universe, but the main theme of Stargate is really fucking good. I mean, this is it. It's fucking ace, man. Part
The
1.
idea for Stargate originated with director Roland Emmerich when he was a film student in his native Germany. Rather than a Stargate, Emmerich's original idea was about an ancient spaceship being discovered under the sands of Egypt. After making a few films in Europe, he moved to the USA to make the Jean-Claude Van Damme sci-fi actioner Universal Soldier.
Oh, I forgot he did that. I've yet to watch it, but I've heard it was decent. I haven't heard it was good. I thought it was decent.
The film was a modest success.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Grossing $95 million worldwide against a budget of $23 million. The film was also the first collaboration between Emmerich and writer-producer Dean Devlin, who also had an idea for a sci-fi movie he referred to as Lawrence of Arabia in Space. Following Universal...
It's so weird how that actually does really nicely summarize the Stargate movie. As you get to see.
Soldier, the two collaborated to merge both ideas, eventually coming up with the first draft of a new movie they called Stargate. To help pitch the film, Emmerich and Devlin hired production designer Holger Gross, who had worked on Universal Soldier, and artist Patrick Tatopoulos to create concept art for the film. After packaging the art and script, the project was pitched around Hollywood, but no major studio was willing to fund the film. Despite contemporary hits like Terminator 2 and Emmerich's own Universal Soldier, according to Devlin, there was a belief at the time that science fiction was dead.
How can you have Terminator and say that science fiction is dead? Are you stupid? I mean, there's also... Wait, when did RoboCop come out? That was in the late 80s as well, wasn't it? Yeah. Fucking Blade Runner as well? What the fuck?
Unable to find financing in the States, the filmmakers turned to Europe, where they found support at the French production company Studio Canal Plus.
And he said, we'd
La
love to make a movie, but
France.
we have a cap. We can't make any movies that cost more than $25 million. And I said, that's an amazing coincidence, because our movie cost exactly $25 million to make. And so he agreed to make the picture. Obviously, as we got into it, it was going to cost a lot more. And so finally, at one point, he said, all right, what's the real budget? And we said, it's going to be more like $51, $52 million. And he said, all right, let's try and figure out a way to do it.
Eventually, Studio Canal joined with Coralco Pictures to finance Stargate's projected $50 million budget, which was a large sum at the time, but far below the typical Hollywood blockbuster budget. To help boost the film's profile, the production team needed a name actor in the cast, and so Emmerich and Devlin pursued Kurt Russell for the role of Colonel Jack O'Neill. Russell was well known to sci-fi and action fans for his performances in John Carpenter films like Escape from New York, The Thing, and Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah, The Thing. I've still yet to watch The Thing. Which I now realize is kind of basically... Fuck. It's basically Among Us. Or Among Us is a ripoff of The Thing, which sounds like cursed knowledge. I don't like it.
By the late 80s, he had also won praise for his performances in dramas like Tequila Sunrise,
John Carpenter should really get in on that, by the way.
Backdraft, and Tombstone. James Spader was another name that added legitimacy to the production when he was cast as Dr. Daniel Jackson. Spader was well known for his performances in dramas and romantic comedies throughout the 80s, winning acclaim for his performance in Sex, Lies, and Videotape. He later admitted that he thought
That name rings a bell. I don't think I watched it, but that name rings a bell. Somehow.
little of the script, but enjoyed working with Roland Emmerich so much that he took on the role.
I have enjoyed my time with all the actors, and especially with James, who I spent most of my time with. He's been a pleasure. He and I have shared a lot of laughs and discussed the movie as little as possible.
British actor and model Jay Davidson was suggested for the role of Ra by the producers, as he had recently been nominated for an Academy Award for his performance in The Crying Game.
You know, when I first saw this film, this guy definitely confused me as a child. Because I didn't know if he was a guy or a girl. He just looked generically attractive, and that confused me as a kid. Random lore.
Davidson was reluctant to continue acting at the time and demanded an intentionally
Look at that fucker.
absurdly high salary of $1 million
What the hell?
to play Ra. He was surprised
Why are you
when
confusing?
his demand for such a high salary was actually agreed to by the producers, and so he accepted the part. Among Ra's henchmen was Jimon Honsu in one of his early film roles as Horus.
What? I legit forgot that. I already watched these. But I forgot that he... Fuck. Okay, that's really fucking cool.
Vivica Lindfors, a lifelong actress of stage and screen, was cast as Dr. Catherine Langford. This was her penultimate role before passing away in 1995. Making up the natives of the planet Abydos was Eric Avari as Kasuf and Alexis Cruz as Skara.
Okay, fun fact. There were a few actors who actually continued their roles from the big screen to the small screen. These two actors were the ones who made the cut. Well, actually, there's a third one, but I mean, she does matter, but she, for reasons in the series that the series will actually touch on, she's not in that there much. For reasons. Yeah.
The part of Shari proved extremely difficult to cast.
Yeah, she's the
role
third
was
one.
still uncast by the time the film started shooting. A matter of
Wait, is she... Wait. I can't remember if she's the same... Fuck. I might be lying about that. I thought she was the same person, but I might have to double check that.
The role was still uncast by the time the film started shooting.
Anyway, I mean, we are watching the entire thing, so I guess I will check that when we actually get to do the series, if I'm right or not.
A matter of days before the character's first scene was to be shot, Emmerich saw an audition tape from actress Millie Avital. She was cast on a Thursday and shot her first scene the following Monday. Location filming took place at Yuma in the Arizona desert, where large sets were built for the base of the pyramid and the Abydosian city.
Sand everywhere. On equipment, in equipment. Transportation is a virtual impossibility.
Conditions were harsh, with temperatures of up
Should've
to
got
50
trapped.
degrees Celsius. Although water and shade were in abundance, several cast and crew members passed out from heat stroke. Over 800
damn.
extras were used for the crowd scenes. These crowds were further expanded in camera using dummies propped up on sticks, and in post with digital crowd members way off in the distance.
Remember when filming used to have like actual effects instead of computer generated imagery?
The alien animal was played by a
I mean,
Clydesdale
not in place, but like as well as with practical effects anyway.
horse wearing an elaborate suit, which featured an animatronic head. However, due to the lack of visibility and the hefty weight of the costume, the horse was unable to run. For the sequence where Daniel Jackson is pulled along the sand dunes by one of the creatures, a dog was dressed in a smaller version of the animal costume, which dragged an action figure of Jackson behind it. Many shots of the death gliders were captured in camera using forced perspective miniatures hung from cranes. The original design for the gliders was very bulky, the intention of which was to further showcase how advanced the alien technology was, and how it
I know why, but this like kind of describes the whole aspect of for those of you who've read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you kind of remind me of this line. The Vogan ships hovered in the sky the way that bricks don't. It's a really evocative line. But I'm glad that they didn't use this design.
could make even this blocky shape fly. However, in practice, the anvil-shaped craft made for poor shots. Therefore, Patrick Tatopoulos suggested adapting the design of a belt piece he had made for Anubis' costume into a more aerodynamic-looking craft.
Which does look immensely cooler. It's a giant scarab beetle, I think. Yeah.
For interior shots, no available soundstage was tall enough for the sets the crew wanted to build, so instead they used the famous Howard Hughes spruce goose hangar in California.
Also, I kind of realized that this was supposed to be a retrospective on the actual history and lore of Stargate, but, you know what? This still works.
Here they built the sets for the Stargate facility, pyramid entrance, and Ra's throne room. For the ancient language spoken in the film, Dean Devlin insisted it be authentic ancient Egyptian, and so the production hired Egyptologist Dr. Stuart Tyson Smith to create the dialogue. Jay
Nice.
Davison had tremendous difficulty with the language, and had to read his lines off cue cards after various attempts at using an earpiece failed. Despite the harsh location filming and technical ambitions of the film, Emmerich and Devlin worked hard to keep spirits high, and people generally enjoyed their time on the film. The visual effects were created by the Kleiser-Walczak company. Practical techniques were used such as miniatures for the pyramid, Ra's ship, and the Abydosian city.
Dude, I wonder where those miniatures are. I fucking love miniatures. They're nice.
The Stargate itself was built full scale,
Especially
with motors
ships.
controlling the rotating hieroglyphs on the
See how I said it spins? The spinning is good. Spinning mean good.
ring. The wormhole effect was conceived by digital effects supervisor Jeffrey A. Oken,
So
but was made
fucking
up of
cool.
practical water elements. The gate opening was achieved by filming a tank of water from below the waterline and shooting the water with a compressed air cannon.
And, I mean, it still holds up today, even though this effect is like... I mean, they did kind of redo it for the show, but, like... It still looks good. Like, really good.
The first time we did it, we fired off with 120 pounds of air pressure, which lifted the entire volume of water out as a unit, moved over and landed on my DP's head, Dave Stump, which was my favorite moment of the film.
The swirling
Lol.
wormhole at the back of the Stargate was simply a jar of water being stirred very fast. The shot of Daniel Jackson pushing his head through the Stargate was simply James Spader leaning over a tank of water and putting his face in, and the shot was then rotated 90 degrees. The headdresses on Ra's henchmen were practical animatronics created by Patrick Tatopoulos, and the effect of the headpieces folding away was done with a digital morph.
Oh, the music is great. So good.
The score was composed by David Arnold, Stargate being only his second feature film score. To fit the epic sweep of the story, Arnold took heavy inspiration from Star Wars composer John Williams and Lawrence of Arabia composer Maurice Jarre.
Yeah, you can definitely hear that, right? You can definitely hear it.
He said, "When I first read the script for Stargate, I knew what approach to take, which was to be as big and bold as possible. Every time there was an amazing sight, the characters would stand back and say, 'Oh my god,' but James would just smile and walk towards it. That was the basis for the Stargate score, moving forward with a sense of majesty instead of being frightened by what's around the corner." During the editing process, the producers felt the film needed tightening, which forced Emmerich to drop several scenes he was quite fond of. He later restored these scenes to the film in an extended cut, which runs 9 minutes longer than the theatrical. The new scenes include an opening in 8000 BC depicting Ra first landing on Earth and possessing a boy, which is only seen in flashback in the theatrical cut. After 5 years of development and an ambitious, epic production, Stargate was released on the 28th of October, 1994. Having first watched Stargate as a young child, I carry a lot of nostalgia for the film, and so I have a lot of goodwill towards it. So even though I'm well aware of its flaws, its shortcomings never overshadow the places where the movie excels.
Okay, for me, I watched the series first, and then I discovered the movie way later. I think it was maybe while Stargate Atlantis was airing, which was 2008, I think. It was after I went out from high school, I believe. Yeah.
One such place is in its presentation. The film has a wonderfully rich and warm look to it. Even the mundane sets and locations in the first act are given a lot of texture and depth, thanks to cinematographer Carl Lindenlaub's gorgeous lighting. In terms of direction, Roland Emmerich's blocking isn't as strong as it is in Independence Day. Here he's too reliant on close-ups, but by the time we get to Abydos, his signature strong eye for composition is used to full effect. Many of the desert shots evoke epic adventures like Lawrence of Arabia, and Emmerich also has a keen eye for action and a strong sense of pacing and rhythm throughout the film. But it's the design work and visual effects which are the true highlights of the film. Like Independence Day, it's that perfect combination of practical and digital effects.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, yeah. It's very much a prelude to what is good in Independence Day.
Stargate's world is simultaneously familiar yet new. The well-known Egyptian iconography is given a new sci-fi twist to great effect.
Also, I really love how, like, basically, like, one-upped, like, Tatooine with its 2 moons to 3 moons on Abydos. One more.
Ra's henchmen being Egyptian
Better.
gods made real via robotic headdresses with glowing eyes is an inspired bit of design work.
Whoa.
For lack of a better word, the general aesthetic of Stargate is just really cool. The miniature work is executed to a high standard and holds up extremely well.
See what I'm saying? It looks really fucking cool, doesn't it? This is why I can never explain this properly. You need to see it.
The forced perspective fly-by-wire shots of the Death Gliders look terrific. The Stargate's water motif is another inspired visual idea, which further enhances the sense of wonderment surrounding the titular device. When it comes to the digital effects, it's more of a mixed bag. The CG death gliders cut pretty seamlessly with the practical models, but the headdress transformation effect looks quite dated. Where Stargate is at its weakest is in its storytelling. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with relying on tropes in a high-concept sci-fi movie. In fact, it can work as a strength. But in Stargate, too much of the characterization and plot is either totally by the numbers or needlessly overthought. As good as Kurt Russell's performance is as Jack O'Neill, ultimately the character's backstory of losing his son doesn't add much to the events. It's an attempt at adding depth to the character, his adventure through the Stargate symbolizing his escape from depression, but it's more distracting than interesting.
Yeah, that little nugget is like explored way more in the actual series. Where it gets handled, I don't want to say well, but I want to say better. Because it is in like the first seasons where it, where it kind of starts to get going, but like it's definitely better than the actual film.
O'Neill ends up relegated to just being sad and stoic throughout most of the film, and as a result, Russell is unable to match James Spader's energy as Daniel Jackson. Spader's performance and the writing for his character feel much more in line with the adventurous spirit of the story. It's also worth noting how Jackson departs from his usual archetype. He's intelligent and nerdy, but he's not awkward or bumbling. Spader's natural gravitas and charisma in the role lends Daniel Jackson an atypical confidence and bravery, which makes him much more entertaining to watch than Kurt Russell's O'Neill. Other cast members worth highlighting are Eric Avari as Kasuf and Alexis Cruz as Skara. Like Spader, these two bring enough charisma to their roles to compensate for the thin writing of their characters, and are likable enough to root for. As earnest as Millie Avital is as Shaury, she also isn't given much on the page to work with, and the romance between Shaury and Jackson feels severely underwritten. However, it's Jay Davidson as Ra who steals the show from the rest of the cast. Davidson's background as a model clearly helped his villainous performance as Ra.
I just realized that the implication behind that. Oh yeah, he used to be immortal, therefore he looks villainous and imposing. I mean, it does work, yeah.
He wears Ra's plethora of luxurious costumes and accoutrements with striking poise and arrogance. Combined with the distorted voice and occasionally glowing eyes, the film succeeds in conveying Ra's great age, alienness, and power despite being played by such a young actor. Ra is reason enough to watch the film, as his character is not only at the center of the most striking design work, but also the most interesting concepts and ideas. And that's where Stargate's true strength lies, not in the story it tells, but in the world it explores. There's a terrific atmosphere of mystery and wonder which immerses the entire movie from start to finish. Although the second act does slow to a crawl in its later half, the initial exploration of this world is given a huge amount of room to breathe.
Yeah, and that's... I mean, it's only second to, like... maybe Star Trek in terms of its world building? I mean, they are basically tied, Star Trek and Stargate, but I feel like Star Wars, it kinda has world building, but the majority of it is basically ancillary stories, really. I mean, it's true that everything in Star Wars looks, dated and like old and worn and lived in. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that it looks old and imposing, kind of like makes it look less interesting. I don't know. It loses the wonder of like technology, which I associate more with Star Trek and Stargate.
The coalescence of this adventurous spirit is due in large part to David Arnold's outstanding musical score. The main theme is instantly as iconic to sci-fi fans as John Williams' Star Wars or Jerry Goldsmith's Star Trek. It simultaneously evokes the otherworldly and the ancient, exemplifying the genre while also being unmistakably Stargate. The choral motifs surrounding the Stargate itself convey such a sense of awe and wonder, whereas Ra's music is just as terrifying as the Stargate motif is wondrous. Short, sharp bursts of high strings convey the insidiousness of the alien parasite, while the lower brass embodies the villain's sense of power. But outside these recurring motifs, Arnold's score is utterly captivating in the action cues, running the gambit of whimsical adventure to desperate battle and triumphant victory. Indeed, the final act of Stargate is where the film comes alive. Much of the second act is unfortunately quite dull, but by the time our characters charge in for the final battle, the film finally starts firing on all cylinders. A spectacular ground-to-air battle, an old-fashioned punch-up between O'Neill and Anubis where Kurt Russell finally gets to flex his action hero charisma, and a tense standoff between Jackson and Ra. It's all propelled wonderfully by Arnold's music, and climaxes in some clever gags to defeat Anubis and Ra by using their advanced technology against them. It's just a shame the movie ends just as it gets going. Though it ends abruptly, it at least ends on a high, and manages to leave the audience with a palpable sense of wonder. The sense that we've only seen a tiny glimpse of a vast universe of adventure which still awaits us beyond the Stargate.
Hell yeah. Oh.
Upon release,
there you
Stargate
go.
received rather mixed reviews from critics. Roger Ebert in particular hated the film, while others praised it as a piece of pulpy popcorn entertainment. Audiences, on the other hand, seemed to enjoy it a lot more. Stargate became the sleeper hit of 1994, grossing...
Yeah, I'm sorry, but especially after what's happened with like most films, I do not trust critics as far as I can throw them. Who gets most of their reviews from YouTubers? Me. Me.
$196 million worldwide against a budget of $55 million. Stargate may not be known as a great work of storytelling, but its legacy endures thanks to its imagination. It gave audiences a kind of science fiction they had never seen before. While earlier works like Battlestar Galactica also took cues from the infamous Chariots of the Gods, Stargate was a much more overt blend of the ancient and the alien, and its visuals, music, and mythology are still celebrated to this day.
Funny about the fans is very often they know the story more than you do, they know details more than you do, and they're amazing.
The fans themselves tend to humanize the whole experience. I thought, is it going to be a bunch of crazy people? And they're not. The biggest question I get is, what does Bonnie Way mean? Which is sweet. Very sweet.
Stargate has also been a popular title on home video since its original release, with several releases including the extended cut. The extended cut doesn't hugely improve the movie, but it's the superior version of the film. The prehistoric opening and the scene of O'Neill seeing the fossilized headdresses work well in creating a sense of foreboding and anticipation surrounding the villain. There's also more time spent in this alien world, making it feel more expansive than before. As I said, it's not a huge improvement, but the extra 9 minutes lean into the movie's strengths, so it's well worth a watch. Though Emmerich and Devlin soon became busy with other projects, they always saw the potential of revisiting the Stargate universe. While they wouldn't manage to return to Stargate, audiences would enjoy further adventures on the small screen.
Yeah. Alright. And we'll leave that for next week. So, yeah. If you guys enjoy that, I'm probably gonna have to put a part 1 in this, but like, you know, this is the to be honest, if we're being completely honest, Stargate the movie is kind of the weakest of the bunch. It does a decent job of introducing you to the world, but it is, there's only so much you can do in a movie format. Yeah, it's really the TV series where the shit really hits the fan. So I hope you enjoy me, you know, going back and, well, educating you about an awesome sci-fi series. So, you enjoyed this? Please like, share, and subscribe. Make number go up. Make brain happy. Anyway, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. I've been Purist, signing off.